mangas. I read mangas all the time. I've read big series such as My Dress Up Darling, Quintessential Quintuplets, Grand Blue, a couple of Kakus, Tokyo Revengers, Komi Can't Communicate, and a few others to mention. Name me a series and I definitely at least heard or have read it. I've read so many mangas that I can't even count them on my fingers and toes combined anymore. And that's a lot of mangas. In the last 2 years, I've read more mangas than watched anime. That's a fact. Also, one of the reasons why I don't upload too often. I guess I went through the phase of binging every anime to ever exist, that for some reason I for once wanted to read from the source material. I've always hated reading since I was a kid. Every school assignment that requires me to read a book and make some sort of journal on a chapter that I've read in the past week, I pretty much did it half-heartedly and was pissed off most of the time. I just didn't like reading. It's boring, it requires thinking and brain energy. I just didn't want anything to do with it. But since mangas are similar to comics, I mean, technically they are comics but just Japanese, so I wanted to give it a go. I can't remember correctly, but I think the first manga I've fully and actually read was My Dress Up Darling. I've read the Gintama and Attack on Titan manga from the chapters that the anime left off, but My Dress Up Darling I started from chapter 1. After reading the available chapters and catching up to the manga, I absolutely enjoyed it and wanted to read some more. There's just something that sparked inside of me. Then something just snapped.
Something inside of me. I didn't care anymore. I didn't care about being better than Kakarot. I didn't care about being a Super Saiyan. I didn't care if I lived. I didn't care about anything. And then it happened.
Later, I've been in this manga rabbit hole ever since. When you dive into this rabbit hole, you're definitely going to find some interesting things, as well as some fucked up things, but we digress. The world of mangas is, dare I say, on another level compared to anime. Even in the slightest significance, anime just does not compare with mangas in terms of how much there is. Obviously, anime requires a studio to produce, hence the amount is not as much as mangas, but come on. 4 years on hiatus, and there's still less anime than manga? Are you serious right now, bro? In this video, I will be giving you guys some mangas that I recommend you pick up because not a lot of people are talking about it, and also to save you some time on finding what to read. So without further ado, these are underrated mangas that you should give it a read. Keep in mind that I'm making this video for people who are mostly anime junkies. If you don't shower and read mangas all day, then you've probably heard some of it, so just a heads up. Okay, let's just start with one of my favorite mangas to read to this day. It is originally a light novel, but it has been adapted to a manga and anime in this fall season. It is The Eminence in Shadow, or Kage no Jitsuryokusha ni Naritakute. Yes, I get that this is an isekai, but let me just tell you why it is one of my favorite mangas so far. So before being isekai, our main protagonist, I'm just gonna call him Sid, was a wacko. He was fixated on being the strongest person possible for some reason in the real world and does all kinds of training to become the strongest. He also wanted to withstand a nuclear explosion, which in any circumstances is impossible. After doing some training, he went crazy and ran in a truck, which eventually killed him. Did you think he was killed in any other way? No. When he was reincarnated into this fantasy world, he later became a literal Shadow Master. Just like any other isekai, he became the most OP thing to ever exist. But with this manga or series in particular, the whole shtick of this manga is that it is comedy based. Sid obviously does not take things seriously, and the things he told people around him are just usually his imagination to fuel that fantasy urge of becoming the biggest, edgiest, most mysterious person to ever live in the isekai. He made up that a cult is trying to revive the most powerful demon in the world, but eventually it became a real thing. The thing is that he does not realize this and just assumes that everybody are just playing along with his story, which for me is a goofy and funny story. Obviously, I love funny, and when thing is funny, I like the thing. Easy, right? The Eminence in Shadow is not on the level of Grand Blue or Gintama funny, but for an isekai, it's pretty funny. I think the biggest and best aspect of the manga is definitely his jokes and the protagonist. Just the whole premise of Sid just going along with the farce that he made up, and he's far too gone to turn back, is quite entertaining and makes it an interesting and funny manga to read. On to the second one, and this is pretty cute. Are you guys sad that Nino, the best girl, didn't win at the end of Quintessential Quintuplets? Well, it's not the same manga, but the author of this manga is the assistant of the author of Quintessential Quintuplets, and the art is very similar. And it is also a harem. It is called Matchmaking of the Amagami Household, or called Amagami-san no Enmusubi. It has 2 less heroines than Gotoben. I'm just going to call Quintessential Quintuplets Gotoben. But I think it should have less competition among the heroines, less tension, and also less margin of error with this one. Since it has 2 less girls, if we do the math, there are 3 main girls in the story, all with different ages. The protagonist is the same as Gotoben. Both are very studious, and the main girls are similar to Gotoben as well. It's just that the premise of this one is based around Japanese shrines. The whole process when there's a festival is explored in this manga, and it also revolves around faith as well. Okay, let's get to the main girls, which is the selling point. First, we got the middle sister, which is called Yuna. She's the Itsuki type. Eats a lot, semi-tsundere, and feels like has the biggest responsibility of the sisters. Second is the eldest sister, Yae. So far, she is my favorite purely because, you know, she's cute, older, and airhead. You just can't get anything wrong with her. The third sister is Asahi. She is the youngest at 14 years old. She's the little devil sister type. She likes to tease our main protagonist a lot, and she has her cute moments here and there. So yeah, highly recommend this manga. The art's amazing, the characters are cute, and a harem. Very cool. This next one is probably my favorite so far. Of course, if it makes me laugh, then I like. This manga's comedy is rivaled with one called Grand Blue or Gintama. The one I'm talking about is D-Frag. How a lot of people have not read or heard of this manga is actually unreal. It got me flabbergasted. Taken flabbergasted. This one is one of the funniest mangas I've ever read, and it also got an anime adaptation, which is only 1 season. It's a disgrace that it's only 1 season with 12 episodes. I can't tell you enough about how I really love this manga. Its updates are like 1 chapter per century, but every time a new chapter comes out, I just like came. D-Frag is a weird manga. It's like it's one of its own. The story is, I don't even know if there's a story. Just like Grand Blue, just random shit that happens and it turns into comedy gold. Things to know is that the protagonist is a straight man who screams every time he has a chat box, a small blonde girl obsessed with the dark, a girl who still enjoys making sandcastles at high school, a girl who's always trying to waterbend, a girl who's just the most normal person ever, and lastly, a girl who is a massive gamer with big boobs. Just like before, it is a harem, but it focuses more on the comedy rather than the romance, which I don't know if it's a good thing or not. All that matters is that it's a damn good manga. It's hard to explain how good it is because it's a comedy manga and it literally depends on your taste in comedy. The style of comedy is like random things happening at once and literally just characters doing stupid shit. There's not much to explain because if I explain the manga to you guys, I think I'll do a pretty bad job of doing it. So you should just give it a read because it is genuinely one of my favorites, if not my favorite manga of all time. Also, you should give the anime a watch. The voice acting might help the jokes a lot better in anime. I don't know why, but demons are very common tropes in shonen mangas. Chainsaw Man, Demon Slayer, Bleach, Jujutsu Kaisen. I mean, it's a lot of demons. I guess if you want to have a popular shonen manga, just make something with demons. Which is why this next manga is called Monster 8 or Kaijuu no 8. Sadly, this is not about demons, but it's about aliens. That's right, aliens. When was the last time we had a shonen manga about aliens? Probably not long ago, but that's not the point. Monster 8 is one of the action shonen mangas that I still read. Kind of. I mean, I haven't read the latest chapters, but I still read it. The manga's really cool. That is the first thing that popped up into my mind when trying to describe the manga. Obviously, it follows the standard shonen formula, so I think it's easy to enjoy it. One thing that is out of the ordinary from the standard shonen manga is that the protagonist is actually kind of old. He's 32 years old. Just like Gintoki, the protagonist isn't actually a kid or a teenager, a full-blown adult, which is very refreshing to see because we can actually see some maturity from the protagonist. The difference is with Gintoki is that the Monster 8's protagonist, Kafka Hibino, has a dream or ambition. You know, standard shonen formula stuff. I think the biggest selling point of this manga is definitely the art. The art is absolutely amazing, especially when they show the aliens and the monster that the protagonist turns into. I don't usually read action mangas because when there's action in it, it's so hard to actually know what the hell is going on. It's so hard to follow through the action panels and all these things that's just everywhere. It's a mess when trying to understand an action scene in a manga. That's why I prefer that they just get a good studio, turn it into an anime. Luckily, this manga is set to be adapted to an anime soon. Don't know when, just hope for the best that it's a good studio that picks it up. In the meantime, read the manga. It's fun and very cool. Okay, this is the last one I'm going to recommend, and that is Fuufu Ijou Koibito Miman, or More Than a Couple Less Than Lovers. Just because this is the last one doesn't mean this one is the best manga of all time. Fuufu Ijou Koibito Miman, or I'm just gonna call it Fukoi, is a story about a high school that has a weird, and if you think about it, kind of fucked up curriculum. This curriculum requires its students to live together as married couples. If they do anything that is unmarried couple-like, they deduct points, which later in a week or a month gets evaluated and it affects your final score. Obviously, if you do things that are married couple-like, then you get the points, and if you get enough points at the end of the week, you can switch your partners. The partners were already set up in the beginning, which the students can choose. Our main protagonist has this childhood friend that he liked, but due to the circumstances, he got chosen with a Gyaru in his class. But come on, we already know where this is going. This is actually one of my favorites as well. I feel like I keep saying this, but genuinely, this is one of my favorites. Firstly, the main girl of the manga. It gives off massive Marin Kitagawa vibes, and as you all know, she is really great wife material. Of course, the main reason to read this manga is solely because of her. She is absolutely precious, gorgeous, delicious, less vicious, and just a great character. If you read it, you'll instantly root for her all the way because she's just way better than the childhood friend, and if she doesn't win at the end, I will march to Japan and set the whole country on fire. In other words, it's a great manga if you like something similar to My Dress Up Darling. Although this manga is a bit drama heavy, but it is still quite an enjoyable piece. Also, it has an anime adaptation this season as well, so you can watch it right now. Anyways, that is all for the manga recommendations. Make sure to check out all of them, as I think it is worth your time and it will be a great introduction to the world of mangas. I kind of want to do this with anime as well, but the only anime that I think deserves the great title of underrated is Gintama. Well, to talk about Gintama, it needs a video of its own, so I will do that another time. I forgot one last recommendation to give you guys. It is a really great manga. One of the best to ever exist, actually. Let me introduce you to Do You Like Big Girls?
Knock it off, you better fucking knock it off. ISIS, ooh, ooh, you better knock it off, you little fucking terrorists, ooh, ooh, you better knock it off.